Don't you get it? I'm invincible!
See us at MumbleCon 2025. More info on this link.
Always check to see who's dead and who's alive. Viewers beware, you're in for a scare.
Now, I was a big fan of the Goosebumps books. Actually, no, that was a lie. I don't read. I watched the Fox Kids show. Actually, that's also a lie. What I really watched was Are You Afraid of the Dark and So Weird on Disney. That creeped me out way more as a kid. True, this vid is about both Jack Black films. Yes, there were two, the latter of which being a production disaster I'll soon get into, but I needed some context.
We, kind of are arch enemies.
I don't like him.
Yeah, I don't like him either.
Written by R.L. Stine, Goosebumps were horror novels aimed at kids in the 90s. With no nostalgia bias, I read a few books, well, audiobooks, and viewed some old episodes. Honestly, I missed out. Horror made for kids is fun because it has to be more creative beyond blood and gore, and the way the 90s show is filmed has a certain feel.
You don't know when to stop, do you? What are you talking about?
Canadian.
Is that Hayden Christensen?
Yeah, Canadian TV from this era had a negative energy aura. The blurry cameras added a sort of etherealness to the setting. Absolutely love some of the framing here, especially with the droning score that barely correlates to what's going on.
Congratulations on your new home.
Thanks, Compton.
I'll let myself out.
I hate this place.
And quite a few episodes are two-part specials, giving them plenty of time to pace themselves. Admittedly, some of the stories are a bit predictable. Not sure if they were more fresh at the time or were always standard. While I did not grow up with it, every kid around me either read Goosebumps or knew someone who did. So, of course, I got a few movies. Tonight, I'm covering the theatrical films and a couple that never got made. So, viewer beware, you're in for a snare. It's Juice and Jam time.
Let me tell you, we had a great time on the set.
Yes.
We only had a couple instances of friction, but for the most part...
He locked me in a trunk. I could hear him laughing.
Right when Goosebumps was picking up steam in the 90s, there was no TV show or movie yet. But Hollywood was interested, and who better for family horror than Tim Burton? He was signed on to produce with the option to direct. In an interview with Bloody Disgusting, RL was asked about Tim.
It was like at the height of Goosebumps, back in 94, 95, around there. And we actually had a deal with Fox to do a movie, and Tim Burton, who was going to be producer. We had a big meeting, and I thought, oh, that'll be great. Tim Burton and Goosebumps. We had a great time, and then nothing happened. Sort of a typical story out there, right? He got involved in some Superman project that also never happened. That was the end of it. I think we were going to do a new story, but use some of the elements from the books. But we never got that far, you know? It's very strange. I don't know. People couldn't figure out for a long time which story to do. And then Goosebumps wasn't as popular. And then it came back. What can I say?
When Tim Burton moved on, zombie movie pioneer George Romero wanted to direct. In 1995, he wrote a thank you letter to an executive at 20th Century Fox Family for the opportunity. Here, he mentioned feeling like a 12-year-old at heart, as he raised a 12-year-old himself. Romero wanted to try making stuff for younger audiences, but was always pigeonholed into sticking to R-rated stories. His plan was to adapt the first Goosebumps novel, Welcome to Dead House, with the tagline stating, "It will just kill you." Okay, it's a little direct. I feel it needs a bit more nuance.
Welcome to Dead House. I think you're going to like your new house.
Damn, bitch, you live like this? Well, anyway, the premise took place in the town of Dead Falls. A family moves in, not realizing everyone but them are secretly dead. The townspeople must feed off one human family's blood to remain undead. Romero built upon this book with his usual social commentary. Dark Falls would now be a company town where they must follow their factory boss, Mr. DeVries. Rather than killing the family, the factory's pollution offers undead immortality at a price. You'll be stuck working a crappy job. Yeah, that sounds like a Romero movie. I would have done the same, except replace zombies with monkeys.
I'm not even supposed to be here today!
And after the fall of man, these monkey fucks will start wearing our clothes and rebuilding the world in their image.
The film was never made for unknown reasons. Maybe they thought the commentary was too smart for kids, or had no idea how well a scary movie for families would sell. They could risk it being too spooky for kids, but not spooky enough for adults. Romero's Goosebumps was in production just before the TV series, so I guess they found more success in that. The popularity of the books fizzled after the 90s, but when that nostalgia kicks in decades later, it's revival time.
Global warming? That's the scariest thing in the world.
Termites. Termites give me goosebumps.
This Halloween, the Goosebumps monsters come to life.
Oh no. Oh yes.
So, when I heard in 2015 they were making a Goosebumps movie starring Jack Black, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't read the books, but even with my undiagnosed sociopathic tendencies, I empathize why fans were pissed. From all these novels featuring one-off horror stories, which one would they adapt? All of them at the same time, as this was really more of a Jumanji-style romp. Monsters invade our world as some teens, and one adult gotta go drive them back. Those damn Jumanjis. I'm tired of all those Jumanjis running the place. They gotta eradicate all those. Most fans would rather this plot follow a single book or an anthology of short stories, kinda like Trick or Treat, but nah. The Jumanji comparison is funny because Jack Black later starred in a reboot that didn't even have that premise. It was about going into a video game? Sure, okay. So, upon the trailer's drop, there were some people loving it, but others thought this leaned way more towards comedy, which they were kinda right about.
A wife and a wife, that'd be f***ing great if we could finally have a f***ing movie with, like, lesbian moms.
He looks like something out of a kid show. It's like taking Freddy Krueger and turning him into a Dora Explorer and calling it Freddy the Explorer.
Goosebumps rocks. And people think it doesn't? You fucking suck. Macaque.
Five Nights at Freddy's is cool because it took something for kids and made them scary. Goosebumps does the exact opposite.
But once it came out, it was a big 360 moonwalk on their outlook. Asking my fans what they thought, those familiar with the books were either okay or really loved this movie as a big fun crossover special between all the novels. What's also appreciated is the end credits slightly animating the covers to the books. As for my possibly dyslexic ass, I really enjoyed it. It's the typical setup: an awkward high schooler moves to town, befriends his comic relief classmate, who I thought was pretty funny, and he crushes on the neighbor girl. Too bad her dad, played by Jack Black, is an asshole.
You stay away from my daughter. You stay away from me. We won't have a problem.
I must bring up, this live-action movie is under Sony Pictures Animation. Hey, someone's gotta animate these creatures. Considering the studio's history, they're the storytelling masters of both Halloween monsters and going after the father's daughter. Should've made a Soul Eater movie next.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi, Chump.
Did she just call you Chump? Yes, indeed, she did. My real name is Champ. You know, but she's never talked to me before, so we're making progress.
So after a house visit, the teens realize Jack Black is actually writer R.L. Stein. But not the real R.L. Stein, this is a fictional version of him.
R.L. Stein? I thought this was Jack Black.
It is Jack Black. I play the role of
R.L.
Stein.
Oh, it was a movie. Gotcha, okay. I mean, he's a great guy here. You know, I really look up to him. Of course, I look up to everyone because I'm 3 foot tall.
R.L. shows up later as a cameo playing a character named Mr. Black.
Hello, Mr. Stein.
Hello, Mr. Black.
Who's that?
He's the new drama teacher.
So like an actor, eh? After opening up his Goosebump manuscripts, the monsters are unleashed. Yetis, mantises, lawn gnomes, an invisible boy who was actually a good guy in the original stories, but he's a villain now for some reason. And most popular, Slappy the puppet, who's been a villain in a ton of stories, starting with Night of the Living Dummy, Part 1. Oh, great.
Wrong. You should know Mr. Woods was the villain in Part 1. Slappy didn't do anything evil till the sequels. Then again, the graphic novel adaptation implied the spirit of Mr. Woods changed puppets after his body was run over by a steamroller. Also, the Invisible Boy was still a nuisance in the...
I ain't dealing with that. With the Monsters Unleashed, this falls into one of my favorite subgenres of film. Friends coming together late at night to hunt monsters. I love Attack the Block, or specifically Monster Squad, which feels like some elements were taken directly from that. Change the creature names, and this could have been a more family-friendly remake.
Wolfman's got nards.
Both those films share a love for horror writer Stephen King with his baller-ass shirt. You could say R.L. Stine is kind of a kid's version of King.
Let me tell you something about Steve King. Steve King wishes he could write like me, and I've sold way more books than him, but nobody ever talks about that!
Okay.
Way more books!
So R.L. Stine tags along to capture the monsters. They were summoned to IRL from the books. They can be retrieved by the books, like a Pokeball, which they don't throw and does not infringe on any Nintendo patents. But uh-oh, the pages are torched away. After Slappy commits a Library of Alexander no good, very bad preservation, this leaves no way to capture them. So, RL must use his magic typewriter to write a new story that features all these creatures and suck them back in. So wait, making a totally new story doesn't create more monsters, it absorbs the ones that were already out? Sure. Okay, and RL's gotta write a full story and it can't just be a quick, the monsters vanish, the end. It's gotta have effort. Sounds a bit subjective, but sure, that's more satisfying. And hey, wait, there was an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode like this. Tale of the Dream Machine, they had a magic typewriter, and I think another episode had a similar premise too.
Read it! The typewriter stopped glowing and all the stories ever written on it never came true.
Oh, come on, Coach, that's bullshit. While Jack Black writes a new story, the teens gotta distract the monsters attacking the school. One strategy is creating a chemical bomb with the science class equipment. It's a bit weird the kids knew how to make a bomb. Hey, why do their custom Doom maps resemble the school's layout?
Okay, never have I ever fallen for a co-star off screen.
He's dating a co-star that he had. Yeah.
Which co-star?
She played my sister in the movie.
All right.
Yeah, you got a thing for your sister?
Goosebumps 2015 was funnier than what I and many others expected. I love to see more from this cast, maybe in the sequel. It's funny since the actors for the main guy and his best friends, Zach and Champ, were both previously in R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. They all did good, although hearing about the leaked script, there was potential for more. Do you remember the 2014 Sony hacks?
Over 100 terabytes of data stolen from Sony Pictures. Now, reporters are digging through the documents, finding scandalous and in some cases embarrassing details.
To sum things up, debatably funny comedians Seth Rogen and James Franco were going to release The Interview under Sony's film division. It's a possible comedy making fun of Korea's dictators, North Korea, the best Korea. Like most sober filmgoers, they were not amused by Rogen's antics. From the outrage, Sony's networks were hacked and sent threatening images. People thought Korea would commit a terrorist act all because of a James Franco movie. If you sat through a James Franco movie, you'd do the same. Tons of emails, personal info, payment numbers, and unmade scripts were leaked. Among those was an early version of the 2015 Goosebumps film. It had pretty much the same plot points with the same writer, though it was far less comedic, a bit more edgy, and featured even more monsters. You had stuff like the mom joking the previous homeowner chopped up his own family, or students calling the teacher a quote, real bitch. R.L. Stine was stalking the main kid, having his dental records, school transcripts, and random homework assignments. Weird.
Mom, are you positive that there weren't any other places looking for vice principals?
Like where?
Guantanamo Bay?
Ooh, too hot.
North Korea?
Nah, they didn't call me back.
So the real film opened to a teen moving to a new town on a bright fall day. The script had a segment prior, taking place during a thunderstorm. Some moving truck guys realize they're driving old Goosebump manuscripts along with Slappy, the dummy, in a glass case. Apparently Slappy can't be contained in the books. After breaking off the latch of a manuscript, the movers release one of the monsters who possibly kills them off screen. While not in the film, this was in the point-and-click video game adaptation. I love when merchandise uses early versions of a script. One aspect I found interesting is RL's fictional stepdaughter, Hannah. She was instead RL's niece here and had an emotional connection to the monsters, like the abominable snowman of Pasadena. Hannah calls her Abby and tries to reason with her, whereas in the final movie, it's just a monster she fears. I also wish Jack Black got to say this line.
What can I say? Every writer has their demons. Mine just happened to be copyrighted.
In universe, they ask Stein why he hasn't destroyed these books. He simply feels guilty, stating it's not the monster's fault they're sadistic. He's the one that made them that way years before they came to life. Kinda makes me think of that one scene in Spy Kids 2.
Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
It's roughly the same plot points, yet this script gave everybody a little more depth. A shame the Hollywood system simplified and toned things down in however many rewrites. Movie scripts go through countless revisions, with too many executives having to contribute for the sake of looking like they did a job. Losing those small, empathetic character moments maybe would have made the film about 10% better. From what we have now, it's still good Halloween time watching, and it was successful enough for a sequel that was kind of a disaster. We'll watch that after these messages.
It's no trick. We'll be right back to the show on Fox Family.
And now back to our show.
You're telling me that you discovered a walking, talking dummy and you didn't tell me?
Well, he seemed like a really nice guy at the start.
After earning 3 times its budget back, the 2015 film was sure to get a sequel, so released 2 years later was Goosebumps 2, Horrorland, with the same director, same writer, and Jack Black returning to star in the film as a major character throughout it. Well, actually, no, that didn't happen. Not with the year-long delay caused by scheduling conflicts. Other movies want Jack Black in their films too, so he was kind of busy with Eli Roth's The House with a Clock in Its Walls. That is the most unexciting title to a movie I've ever heard since The Computer That Wore Tennis Shoes. Who wants to watch that? So, thanks to this movie no one remembers, Goosebumps 2 got screwed over. As for the director, he instead took up work on the Pokemon film Detective Pikachu. And there had been no confirmation that any of the other Goose stars would return either. According to this 2017 Variety article, the journalists were questioning if G2 was even going to be made. With all the scheduling conflicts, Variety reported that Sony had 2 scripts made, one that features Jack Black and the other that does not.
Are you signed for sequels?
Of course I am. I'm writing my own, actually.
I hope you have a role for Jack in it.
I have 12 scripts. I'll pass them along to you.
I'd like to take a look at that script
I'm working
before
on
we
number
begin
13
shooting.
right now.
Variety also mentions this film had just obtained a new director. This article was written 9 months before the film's release. Actually, they delayed it an extra month for mid-October. Goosebumps 2, Horrorland had to... Oh wait, they renamed it. Goosebumps 2, Slappy's Revenge had to... Oh, hold up. They had another name change. Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween had to be filmed and its monsters animated in 10 months. This was looking to be an utter disaster. But at least the news site Bloody Disgusting announced Jack Black would return to voice Slappy. Oh wait, no he didn't. They instead got a voice actor named Mick Wingert. So, you know Jack Black is Po the panda from Kung Fu Panda, right? Well, whenever there's a game adaptation, TV show, or McDonald's ad, they usually can't afford Jack or he's busy, so Mick is usually hired to be the sound-alike. He does a good impression.
Hear the legends of the Kung Fu Panda!
True story, a lot of celebrities have their official sound-alikes, such as Tom Hanks using his brother, Jim Hanks. Anytime Woody from Toy Story shows up in a video game or real-life talking toy, Jim Hanks is the go-to voice.
Can we go to Chuck E. Cheese?
I want to go to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Jack Black was mostly missing in Goosebumps 2, and same for the director. Leading the sequel now was Ari Sandel, known for, The Duff? With the film now losing much of its creative team, Sony greatly reduced the budget compared to the previous film's ambiguous estimate of 60 to 80 million. The sequel would be rushed out with about half that, 30 million.
I've had a weird day, man. You've had a weird life.
After all that hassle and having to film an effects-heavy feature in 10 months, how did this end up? Surprisingly, it's flawed, but okay. Not as good as the first, though. When newly announced as Goosebumps 2 Horrorland pre-name change, we could speculate on the plot. The first film had the teens hang out in an abandoned theme park. Due to the location, it's very possible the sequel was planned from the start. You see, Horrorland is a spin-off series with different stories based around an evil amusement park. It's a sort of traveling carnival and game show run by monsters and disfigured humans. Within, they film humans being tortured and broadcast it to other creatures. Not sure how well a snuff film would work for a family movie, but that don't matter because that idea was never used. R.L. Stine's Horrorland? Be glad it wasn't Tyra Banks' Model Land. Play the actual theme song.
And back to Model Land. Can you survive Model Land? Can you survive Model Land, Model Land, Model Land?
Didn't know Tyra was a Vocaloid fan. Alright, 2018's G2 Goosebumps Day is a small-scale reboot with none of the original cast present beyond Jack Black's brief cameo at the end. It is connected to the first film, but makes no sense. We follow two new kids who stumble into R.L. Stine's old house, abandoned. It's a different house from the first. After summoning Slappy from a book, he cannot move until they read aloud the magic words on his greeting card.
Karu, Marie, Odana, Loma, Milanu, Kurano.
That card was not in the first film, but it was in the leaked drafts and the book and the 90s show. Oh, and apparently Slappy now has psychic powers, levitating stuff. That's new. Continuity makes no sense, but apparently the books were pretty loose on that too. So rather than a Jumanji-style monster mash of a plot, this is a more focused story on friends messing around with a doll they think is normal. What they don't know is Slappy is alive and sort of an anti-hero protective of the kids and their family. Like when some guy cheats on the sister, that puppet seeks revenge for her. Unlike the first movie, he feels more intimidating, actually adding a bit of terror, something that was missing from the last one.
I always bring down the house.
Wait, no, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Watching some episodes and listening to the audiobooks, this actually feels more like a Goosebumps novel. Some elements like putting this puppet in a box and hiding him away somewhere were done in those stories. While it's not as funny, I was really enjoying this sequel until the halfway point where it becomes a totally different premise. After it's discovered Slappy's alive, he summons more monsters that become the focus. If you were enjoying that dummy's antics, well, from here on, he goes into hiding after kidnapping the kid's mother. Taking center stage were a bunch of monsters brought to life. Yeah, it's just a rehash of the first one now. Cool designs though. With this 50-50 structure, I did not get enough out of either concepts. A Slappy-focused revenge film would have been amazing. Because he wants to protect the family and fit in, they almost make him a sympathetic villain. Almost. He just needs more screen time, like you give him a tragic backstory of feeling abandoned, this could have been gold. Oh well. Overall, the jokes don't land as much, and the product placement is even more blatant. This Sony-produced film's gotta have its Sony phones and Sony PlayStations. The kids even play Slappy next to these copywritten plushies that happen to be based on Sony films, and a Droid phone plush, which Sony does make Android phones. And using his new psychic abilities, Slappy brings to life these Street Fighter action figures. Oh, gross, it's Street Fighter 5 Ken. Fucking Play-Doh-ass banana-haired bastard. What were they thinking? Yeah, I just found out Part 5 was never on any consoles besides Sony PlayStation. Of course. Goosebumps 2 is full of underbaked characters and dumb logic. I know the original wasn't all that mature, but this sequel skews even more towards kids. It's about a boy who wants to be an inventor and win the science fair because, I don't know, he's smart. No motivation to change the world, he's just gotta impress Nikolai Tesla.
Don't give me that look. I'm trying to bring back your tower.
Don't worry, kid, real Tesla products barely work anyway. So he's also got a best friend and an older sister who feels she hasn't done anything with her life.
When you have to sum up your whole life in one essay, it all just sounds so unimpressive.
Bro, you're in high school, slow down. Prom is not as big of a deal as you think it is. You have a whole life ahead of you selling Tupperware to shady religious communes.
I think you're very impressive and very capable.
You do?
Yeah, thanks Mom. That motivational speech was greatly benefited by those adult diapers behind you. Life sucks for them kids until they find Slappy the dummy, who, through his telekinetic abilities, helps make the science fair go smoothly. Minus the busted glass in the girl's eye.
Today's picture day!
Oh no, it's just a silly movie, so consequences be damned. Cartoonish logic like that does hinder the sense of danger. Over time, the teens start to realize something's weird about this doll. After being neglected, Slappy feels underappreciated, so he reveals he's alive and threatens their mother.
Not as disappointed as I am.
My room. Now. We've got a problem.
I say you got a problem. There's a telekinetic dummy and you take your eyes off him. You're lucky you can't teleport or walk up the stairs.
Did somebody call a family meeting without me?
My mistake. He's immune to stairs, but is he immune to blunt force trauma?
Turn up the...
We'll be back with more Goosebumps after this.
Coming up next, it's Goosebumps. Only on Haunted Hub.
You're watching Slappy's Monster Madness on the one place that rocks, kids. Rocks, kids.
They what, kids?
Surround sound. I didn't know being an audiophile was a crime.
What a file?
And back to the show.
Turn up the...
Ignoring the possibility that he can just teleport, they do not burn him alive like one of the kids suggests. Instead, they put him in a suitcase and chuck him in the river. R.I.P.
We just killed a puppet.
It's messed up, man. They killed a puppet. That changes the kid. Oh wait, he's still alive and could maybe teleport. Idiots.
I just want to be part of the family!
You gotta ask Vin Diesel first. After escaping Slappy, they remember he was summoned from a Goosebumps manuscript, just like the first movie. So they contact not R.L. Stine, since how would they even get a hold of him? LinkedIn? I don't got that. They would rather email R.L. Stine's #1 fan from some fan site, which turns out it's just R.L. himself, played by Jack Black again. Why is he posing as his own #1 fan? It's not stated, or maybe it was and I don't remember. If you ain't your own #1 fan, then no one is.
Well, I am mostly inspired by myself and how great I am.
I do appreciate these movies for portraying R.L. as a weirdo, always jealous of Stephen King and living alone. Apparently the real R.L. was totally chill with it. You got movie R.L. mocking his writing too after seeing his creations summoned to IRL.
Oh, my writing was so cliche back then. I knew it! I knew I came up with that first!
That's funny, because the main kid here was in Stephen King's It adaptations. Twisting his car keys, R.L. drives in to help, but it takes so long getting there that the teens are alone on this one. Without him, Slappy kidnaps the mother and, using magic, brings Halloween decorations to life. Some of the costumes are Goosebumps products and the others are just generic monsters. As much computer-generated stuff as there is, these films do got a lot of practical creature effects, such as the Haunted Mask. A lot of fans and R.L. himself state the Haunted Mask is their favorite book. It's about a cowardly girl who wishes she could scare others, so she steals a mask from a shop that refused to sell it to anyone.
Here's your money!
So ominous, he could have easily chased her down but accepted, nah, it's over for her. A very claustrophobic story with a girl begging to remove the mask as it rewires her mind. She's still conscious as it terrorizes her friends. Imagine being conscious as your body is being hijacked. Now imagine your body being hijacked on 9/11. The Haunted Mask was even beloved enough to get a new graphic novel adaptation in 2024. Found out the artist, Madi Gonzalez, grew up in the Rio Grande Valley like me and watches my videos, so I'll be ordering this comic extra hard. In the first film, the mask only shows up in, there. Right there. It's a good-ass prosthetic when you see the behind-the-scenes pics, but it's such a shame it was so underused. Though for part 2, it got more screen time, except instead of trapping the still conscious user, the mask now just turns people into a generic, dumb Igor.
I used to manage a hardware store.
Walter, focus please.
So the books had a sequel, and there's different haunted masks with different effects, like becoming old and sad. You need a haunted mask to do that. It's called Patience. The wearer here is played by comedian Chris Parnell, you know, Jerry from Rick and Morty. Here he portrays an equally simp-like character desperate to impress the mom. That never plays into his corrupted form at all. I feel like that green mask should have made Chris lust after her, or maybe it'll turn him into a stud.
Okay.
I fucking wish. So, with the monsters rampaging, the kids go to their neighbor for help. It's the naked guy from The Hangover, wearing clothes, unfortunately. This time he has an idea, putting on more clothes, costumes in fact.
Jeez, they're still everywhere.
It's actually working.
Yeah, the monsters won't attack them thinking they're also monsters, even though minutes earlier random citizens in costumes were also being attacked, because, you know, it's Halloween. Hey, make like R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour and don't think about it. So back to Slappy, he commandeers a historic building, Nikola Tesla's abandoned electric tower plant, still standing. It's based on a real-life Tesla tower in Long Island, New York, except that was demolished in 1917, but not in this movie. I can accept living monsters, but historically inaccurate buildings is where I draw the line. It's here where, through the power of electricity, I guess, Slappy turns their kidnapped mother into a dummy.
There's my sweet little babies.
Which, yeah, that's kind of off-putting, though. The night he show went the extra mile and turned a human kid into a full-on wooden dummy. Oh no, you turned me into Seth Green! Well, it's a good thing the first movie's logic still applies. All they gotta do is open the Goosebumps books to contain the monsters. Doing that also works on the other baddies, who were just living Halloween decorations in our world. They were never from the books, so you can just capture anything with the books then. Fine. Meanwhile, you have this living spider made up of balloons that's way too far away to pull in. Fret not, as Tesla's electricity flows through the factory and through the books, making their suction extra powerful. Somehow. And with all the power raging, the two kids realize overloading the factory is a bad idea. The tower above them might explode. They bring up the possibility, but they don't show any concern for their sister when she goes up later.
Sonny, turn this thing off. I'm going after Slappy.
That's it. We turn it up. All the way up. We blow the fuse.
They carry on as usual as they overload the spire. It's her problem now. Should have let them be player one. And the day is saved. Also, Jack Black finally shows up for about 5 minutes in this film to reclaim the books.
All the horrors in the world can't compare to the terrors of the blank page.
Oh, but here's the twist. Once all that was said and done, Slappy got out of the book somehow, I don't know how, and he wrote a story with Jack Black, meaning he can pull him into the book, I guess. The end.
You try living in a book for a while, Papa.
Slappy, do you want to leave the kids scarred for life? Is that your goal?
Yes, that's my only reason for doing the movie.
Despite how little screen time he got, Jack Black was still great here. Too bad this movie could not decide what it was. Not enough its own Slappy story, and not enough monster chaos. Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween did not make as much money as the first. Then again, it was made on a way lower budget and still made 3 times back its budget, so That's pretty respectable. Every step of this duology feels like it was set for disaster, leaning towards comedy, not adapting any one story, losing its stars and budget, several delays. One movie was good and one was okay. As much as I loved it, I don't know if they'd ever return to the first movie's cast. It's been like a decade, bro. I do still want that Trick or Treat style movie. Maybe someday. Until then, happy Halloween, every pony!
Trick or treat!
Now that wasn't too scary, was it? Let's ask my family. Mom? Dad? What did you think? I think they liked it. I hope you did too. Have a scary day, everyone.
Oh man, I almost had a heart attack there.
Can you identify who it was that frightened you, ma'am?
I'll try.
This Halloween, terrifying creatures are on the loose at Taco Bell. Wanted Goosebumps at Taco Bell. Slappy's Candy Keeper, Cuddles the Horrible Hamster, Rappin' Mummy, and Skullmobile. Get them now. Goosebumps collectibles only at Taco Bell.
They're coming to KFC.